Hi everyone, I'm Brian Clark and welcome to Recording Dojo. This time I'm going to show you step by step how to reamp your guitar. What is reamping? In the early days, it referred to a method in which you take a pre-recorded track and sent it back through guitar amps and pedals. But now, the process of reamping can be applied to drums, vocals, bass, keyboards, and anything else you can dream up. Are you ready to get started? Tighten up your belts, the dojo is now open. Let's have a look at the gear that you're going to need. You're going to need a DI box for starters. That's step one of the reamp process, where we want to split our guitar signal and take a dry version with no effects, distortion, or anything like that directly into our DAW. And then we have the option of having a through signal that we can plug into our pedal board and our amp and play with inspired tone. That way the guitarist can actually have something to react to instead of just something that's totally dry and totally clean. The next process after that, we're going to have to take that recorded DI track and we're going to route it out of our audio interface into a reamp box. That's where this little device comes in. This reamp box is looking for an XLR balanced signal from your audio interface. And from there, it converts it back down into line level and it has an output. From here, we take a normal instrument cable and we can plug it into any pedal, any effects unit that you have, and any amp that we want. And that's how the reamp starts to happen. Now the cabling issue can be a little bit of a challenge. And what you want to do is you want to focus on what your specific audio interface's outputs are. A lot of times they're either XLR or they're going to be 1/4 inch. If it's 1/4 inch, like for example, this Apollo X4 that I have, if we flip it around to the back, you'll be able to see that the line outs are TRS 1/4 inch. So it's balanced signal, but it's a 1/4 inch output as opposed to like an XLR that has the 3 pins in it, like a microphone cable. Now's the time to decide whether or not you want to record your guitar amp in addition to the DI signal. 99% of the time you will, but there are certain situations that may arise where it's important to remember that it's not absolutely necessary. For example, you may have a 2 or 4 input interface and all of the other mic inputs are being used. At that point, you can still let the guitarist hear the amp, but you don't have to record it. Now you may say, well, what if he nails it? What if it's the perfect take? Don't worry. You've got the DI version. And once you're set up to do some reamping, you can run it through any amp or pedal at any time in the future. In this case, I want to record my amp as well. So I've already hooked up a microphone and placed it in front of my amplifier. The first thing we need to do is connect our DI box to our audio interface. So I'm going to take a regular mic cable and connect it to the back of my DI box. The next thing I need to do is connect the other end of the cable to my audio interface. The next thing we want to do is establish the through connection. So I'm going to take an instrument cable and I'm going to plug it in to the through on my DI box. Next, take the other end of the cable and either plug it in directly to your amp or to your pedal board. I'm going to play through some pedals. Finally, connect your guitar to the input jack of the DI box. In your DAW, you should have 2 tracks record enabled. One is going to be the microphone that you've placed in front of your amp, and the other is the DI signal. All right, now we're ready to play something. And now let's listen to the DI track. So you can really hear the differences between the 2 tracks. Obviously, the amp track is the one that I was interacting with, because when we soloed the DI, you could hear when I hit that low E string, it was just rattling like crazy because I played it too hard. So that's why it's really important for you to always try to monitor through a tone that's inspirational for you or the guitarist that you're recording, rather than feeding them a flat, dry track, because they're going to play completely differently. Now we get to move on to reamping. A quick break to thank our sponsor for Recording Dojo, Asterope Cables. Asterope Pro audio cables are trusted by artists and producers across the globe and feature a unique technology that delivers unsurpassed performance with an aesthetic and rugged design. You can learn more and buy their cables directly at asterope.com. Now back to the Dojo. So if you notice what I've done, I have duplicated the DI track and made a track specifically for the reamp process. It's color-coded purple. I've also established the output of that track to my output of my audio interface. Now we want to connect the output of our audio interface to the input of our reamp box. My gear setup is a little bit different. I'm going to have to come out of a patch bay, but just to remind you, if you have an audio interface that has 4 inputs or something like that, you want to look at these outputs now, and you want to be able to connect your TRS-to-male XLR cable. I'm going to come out of my patch bay with a TT-to-male XLR cable. I'm going to grab my reamp box and I'm going to connect it to the input. The last step, we're going to connect an instrument cable to the output of our reamp box. Now we're taking this final end and I'm going to plug it into my big pedal board, which is already connected to another amp. Now we get to have as much fun as we can possibly imagine, because we're free to run this reamped signal through any type of device that we want. Pedal boards, single pedals, wahs, delays, you name it, all kinds of different amps. If you want to hear how this sounds in 15 different amps, you can have the freedom to do that now. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to loop a playback, and then I'm going to go over to my main pedal board and just start turning things on and off and hear how things sound. We've got everything connected to the pedal board and connected to this amp here. I've also taken the microphone from the original amp that we used and have placed it in front of this one, because we may want to record whatever tones we get out of this new amp. Let's listen. I'm going to start playback and then start tweaking some pedals. I hope you've enjoyed this dojo and you've really learned how easy reamping can be. It's an incredibly flexible technique, and it will give you lots of freedom to experiment and re-experiment and revisit all types of possibilities. Once you have that clean DI track, you're free to just move it into almost any device you can imagine. 15 different amplifiers, 15 different pedals, combinations of both. The possibilities are endless. So until next time, keep experimenting, keep an open mind. Namaste.